It all starts like a simple joke, until the joke makes you a millionaire. This is the story of René Lacoste, a young French tennis player who received an unusual nickname and unknowingly was about to create an empire. What began as a bet among friends became one of the most iconic symbols in the fashion world, Lacoste's crocodile. But how did a simple nickname become a billionaire empire? How did a young man who just wanted to play tennis has revolutionized both sports and fashion? René Lacoste was born in 1904 in Paris in a privileged family. His parents, Jean-Marie Magdeleine Leroy and Jean-Jules Lacoste, belonged to French high society, which gave him freedom to choose any way in life. But instead of following family tradition or accommodating in luxury, René found her passion in tennis at age 15. At that time, tennis was still an elitist sport, practiced by few and full of formalities. But René was not intimidated. He trained obsessively, analyzed every detail of the game, and quickly became one of the best. His determination was such that teammates and journalists began to compare him to a crocodile, a fierce animal that never releases his prey. What no one expected was that this nickname would become the beginning of something much bigger. Over time, the crocodile went from a simple joke to a symbol embroidered on his clothes. And when René Lacoste realized the impact of this little detail, he had a revolutionary idea, turning his style into the courts into a luxury brand outside them. What happened next? How did it build a global empire from a simple embroidery? And what made Lacoste one of the most desired brands in the world? This is the story behind one of the biggest fashion icons, and it all started with a crocodile. René liked to play tennis that she wanted to make a career with it. His father, Jean-Jules Lacoste, was not intrigued by the possibility of a tennis career for his son because René was not as skilled as the main tennis players. After seeing his son's passion for tennis, Jean-Jules Lacoste finally reneged his blessing on the condition of becoming a world champion in 5 years. That was a huge challenge, but René wanted to prove himself to his father. But then, he started intense training for 3 years. In 1922, René entered her first tennis competition, which was the Grand Slam tournament of Wimbledon Championship. But unfortunately, he lost in the first round. He was disturbed by these results because of his father's pressure to succeed. The following year, he entered his first competition in the United States. Things were a little better than this time when he reached the 4th round, but was defeated by Cecil Campbell. Nevertheless, he continued his diligent training, slowly surprising his limits. And in 1923, he was selected to play in France for the Davis Cup team. René played alongside Jean Barotra, Jacques Brignon, and Henri Cochet. Together, men were so formidable that tennis fans dubbed them the Four Musketeers. René arrived at his first large final in 1925 in Wimbledon, but lost to a colleague Mosquetero John Barotre. His defeat made him train even more, without forgetting his promise to his father. Later that year, René won the title of the French Championship, and in the next Wimbledon tournament, he had a rematch with John Barotre in the finals. This time, he emerged as a champion. René was finally worthy of playing tennis in his father's eyes, but lost his French championship title the following year to Henri Cochet. After his defeat, René did not compete in Wimbledon that year. He spent time training and improving tennis. In September 1926, he competed in the U.S. National Championship, and his last match was again against Jean Barotra. He won the championship match against Jean, and was classified as a #1 tennis player in 1926 by Daily Telegraph. René is also assigned to invent the tennis ball machine, and had more phenomenal achievements in his tennis career. But how did any of these lead to the creation of the Lacoste brand? Through his dedication to sport, René developed a unique style of playing tennis that has not gone unnoticed. He used to play on the back of the court and slide around the court while playing. In 1926, the French Davis Cup team reached the World Group Final and lost to the U.S. team. However, something phenomenal happened in the last tournament that intrigued American journalists. The American team had Bill Tilden as their best player. He was well known for having a series of unbeaten victories in the tennis championship. Bill Tilden's opponent in the World Cup final was René, and all the world's tennis enthusiasts were on the edge of their seat. To everyone's surprise, René turned around to win by winning the 4-set game against him. The American journalists present in the game noticed René's phenomenal style of play and dubbed him from Crocodile. Although the team lost the final, this victory increased their chances of winning the World Cup the following year. Then René defeated Bill again in the next final of the World Group. In one of his 3 matches against him, the Crocodile nickname arrived in France and René adorned, admitting that the name highlighted his tenacity in the tennis courts and dedication to never giving up his prey. Later that year, the Davis Cup team was in a crucial match, and its captain promised to René a crocodile skin suitcase if he won. René led him to this promise and went on to win the match. After winning the match, Robert George designed an exclusive crocodile and embroidered him in the René blazer. He wore the blazer on the court during his next game, and his trust called the eyes of tennis fans. Although René was using the Crocodile brand blazer in all games, it was not up to 5 years after the Lacoste brand was finally launched. Having trained from a young age, René made some observations about her personal experience. He noticed that a long-sleeved button shirt was very uncomfortable playing and did not increase the player's flexibility. This observation led him to project the first version of the official tennis uniform today, but it was still in the production phase and has not yet been released. In 1933, René asked André Guillier, the owner of the largest French knit manufacturing company at the time, to embroider the crocodile in front of his tennis shirt he wore in the next game. After that, they produced more t-shirts, and this migrated to a business. The company was officially registered as La Société Chemise Lacoste and used René as brand ambassador. René's sportswear was revolutionary at the time because it was a short-sleeved knitted shirt instead of the traditional button shirt. René's sportswear has become even more popular. However, they could not get a license to sell their products under the Lacoste brand in the United States. In 1950, Lacoste started a partnership with a corporation in the United States called Izod. They created a sub-marca named Izod Lacoste that produces Lacoste brand clothes. Lacoste started producing only white-collar colored sportswear, but from 1950, after its partnership with Izod, they began producing shirts of other colors. In 1970, Lacoste's sportswear gained total popularity in the United States. 7 years later, a brand of sportswear called Le Tiger was created in the US to compete with Izod Lacoste. They produced similar comfortable sportswear. They went with another animal beyond the crocodile. But it was very difficult to defeat the popularity of Lacoste sportswear. Other US sportswear companies started making similar shirts and logos for their brand, and the value of the Lacoste brand grew even more. Although René was the first ambassador of the brand Lacoste, he attributed his success to him not to choose a friendly animal to be the Lacoste logo. Even after his tennis retirement in 1932, René continued to design innovative sports products in the 1960s. He designed an unprecedented steel racket in the 1960s, used by Jimmy Connors and other better players. It's expanded Lacoste sports territory, from sportswear to sports on sports. In 1964, René's son, Bernard Lacoste, took over the company. He was in charge of the partnership between Lacoste and Izod. But in the 1970s and 80s, teenagers began to go to the shirt as just Izod instead of Izod Lacoste. However, the union of both brands remained profitable until Izod, Lacoste's controlling company, Crystal Brands Inc., drowned in debt of other business enterprises. The company tried to separate Izod and Lacoste to pay the debts. But eventually, Crystal had to sell his half of Lacoste back to the original French company, while Izod was sold to another company. In 1993, Lacoste ended its partnership with Izod. After Lacoste recovered U.S. exclusive rights from distributing shirts under its own brand in 1990, Lacoste ended its long brand identity crisis with a Chinese company called Crocodile. After this was resolved, Bernard Lacoste decided that he needed a new administration to take the company ahead. On October 12, 1996, Crocodile René Lacoste died at the age of 92. The company lamented the loss of its founder, but eagerly awaited the future in 2000. It began changing Lacoste's creative director of Gilles Rosier to Christophe Lemaire, This decision helped establish Lacoste's popularity as not just a sportswear company, but also a luxury fashion brand company. Under the new government, Lacoste diversified its products away from only clothes. Lacoste branched in other areas of fashion and began producing shoes, glasses, leather, lingerie, perfume, towels, and watches. In 2005, Bernard Lacoste became ill and handed the company to his younger brother, Michael Lacoste. Michael had worked at the company with his brother years ago, so he was more than able to continue the legacy. On March 21, 2006, Bernard died and the company regretted the loss of another president. Lacoste began licensing its trademark to other companies after Michael took over his government. However, this decision has changed in a few years. Although polo shirts are made under license in Thailand and China, Devonly now has an exclusive Lacoste clothes license around the world. The company gained higher heights and continued to expand its territory. In 2007, Lacoste introduced an e-commerce site for the US market, and in 2010, Lacoste began using celebrities as brand ambassadors. The latest one of which is the Novak Djokovic tennis player. He was named the new crocodile. I am proud to be the new crocodile after the creator of the brand, René Lacoste. Therefore, Novak received a 5-year ambassador contract for the brand that began in 2017. Today, the Lacoste crocodile logo speaks for the company. The brand is extremely popular among millions of fans inside and outside the social media of various communities. Lacoste started the René Lacoste Foundation to help children play sports at school and give them a support community. He grew up from a company in honor of a joke to a $1 billion brand. Have you seen designer clothes with a crocodile symbol? What did you think this meant? Have you tried to buy a Lacoste brand product? Was it too expensive? Comment your thoughts below. Don't forget to like this video and check out other videos on our channel.